try and the day is, but I'll do my legal best in case there is a secret word. All right. So this morning, we start off with our inspiration. Oh, she just came back in. Let her set her coffee down. Our inspiration this morning is going to be by Sylvia Baptiste, everyone. Sylvia.
Morning. We all do good work, important work, instilled in us gratitude for this community. For the good work we do together, help us in all as a student and the leaders. Let us continue this throughout the day. Amen.
Thank you, Sylvia. This morning, we stand for the national anthem. Or, I'm sorry, not the national anthem. Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. No, we'll do that another day. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know who has the meeting next week, but that might be an idea for the 4th of July. That we sing the national anthem. That would be nice. Well, we have to know, but we'd have to probably print the words out because I know a lot of people forget the words or they mess them up. And we would hate to have that permanently recorded.
There's a second verse too.
Thank you, Dave. Second verse, same as the first. No, it's different. I have heard it. I don't remember it. But this morning, we're going to get right into our meeting. Our Toastmaster for today is Dr. Gerald Stevens.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. So in the room, we have Marty, Nancy, Jackie, Beth, Mike Licata, Margot, Jill, Steve, Carol, Tracy, Joe Budnack, Dave Licata, and Tom, and myself. And I'm not sure who is over there. Len, and thank you. Sorry, Len, you're over there. Natalie. Thank you, Natalie. Online, we have Jen, Eric, Mike Florio, Les Robinson, and Nancy Rose. And so far, I don't see a few people that I normally would see online. Jason and Mark Campos as well. Thank you for that, because I was looking for Mark. Today's theme is crime dramas. I feel like I know far too much about crime and police investigation, and also drug trafficking. I know way too much about these things, and I have no interest in pursuing this as a profession, but it is interesting for me because I find that it's interesting how they catch them. So that's the big thing for me. All the shows with a little drama in there. Who doesn't like a little drama? It's the unknown kind of thing. At this point in my life, I have HBO Max and I am binging The Mentalist. So that is a crime drama. And the Mentalist is one of those guys that's super smart, like smarter than everybody else in the room. And he's like a Sherlock Holmes kind of guy. So he'll be like noticing things. He must have the most amazing sense of smell I've ever seen, because he always picks up clues with his nose and noticing little things on people's feet or things on their fingers with the fingernails. He knows a lot about manicures, apparently. Things like that I have no knowledge of. So it's just interesting to me that he finds all these clues and then somehow figures out way ahead of everybody else who the criminals are. And those kind of things are interesting to me, and I admire that. So that kind of inspired this theme today. So not only TV shows, but they also have movies as well. So we'll be talking about these kind of things as we go along throughout the meeting. And thank you for everybody who checked in online and also stepped up this morning. Our first role player today is Len Thornton. Len. Word master.
Morning, fellow Toastmasters. I am the word master today, and the word of the day is alibi. The suspect had an airtight alibi and was eliminated from suspicion. Use that word. If you are selected for table topics, you must use that word to qualify for best table topic speaker. Mr. Toastmaster.
Yes, an alibi is definitely sought by all these criminals that we are going to be talking about today. I don't know if David Jones is online. Is he online yet? Do not see David Jones. So keep in mind a jest or a joke. If someone could come up with one of those, I'll give someone a chance to ponder or look it up. And we'll go on to our next role player that I have listed on my agenda, a quiz master, Carol Ann.
This morning, I will be listening to see how well everyone else is listening, and there will be a quiz at the end. And I would like to mention that our granddaughter just started a job for the South Bend, Indiana Police Department in the crime lab.
Well, I bet Carol has all kinds of insights on these crime dramas, whether they're real or not. It'd be interesting to hear possibly next time she comes up. Our quote master, Tracy Farrell.
You. Today's quote comes from Ayn Rand, author of Atlas Shrugged. There's no way to rule innocent men. The only power any government has is to crack down on criminals. Well, when there aren't enough criminals, one makes them. One declares so many things to be a crime that it becomes impossible for men to live without breaking laws. Ayn Rand. So a word to the wise, always have an alibi.
Thank you, Tracy. Our timer today, Mark Campos, can you tell us your duties? So you don't have an alibi today.
No alibis here. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, good morning. My job as timer is to keep us on the straight and narrow to make sure that we stay within our allotted time parameters, which for table topics are 1.5 to 2 minutes with a 15-second buffer. Speeches typically 5 to 7 minutes unless you tell me otherwise, and evaluations 2 to 3 minutes with a 30-second buffer. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. Our tech and gesture master, Jen Zappa. Jen, can you tell us your job duties?
Yes, I will be observing our body language and also how we do with our technology today and reporting back on it at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Our grammarian today is Steve Smith. He is coming on down to tell us his job duties.
Thank you. My job today is to be to play detective with all of your uses of the English language, to ferret out the strange uses to complement the good uses. And I will report later when called upon.
Thank you, Steve. And our master, Beth Banks.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My job today will be counting the ahs and ums and pregnant pauses. So hopefully we just keep our meeting moving smoothly and I don't have too many things to count. Thank you.
You, Beth. And it's one of the reasons I like to make my own agenda is that I make sure that I have the general evaluator at the bottom of my list, because I know the one we print out online, it's way at the end. And so,
Way at the end.
so our general evaluator today is Mike Florio.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, good morning. My job this morning is to evaluate the tone of the meeting and evaluate the evaluators that are evaluating the speeches this morning. I've missed a few of the past meetings, but my alibi is, work and maybe a little bit of golf sprinkled in there. So, it happens. It's summer. To you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. At least you had an alibi. Not everybody does. So when it comes to the crime dramas, one of my more favorite ones is Blacklist. I don't know if anybody watches that. And Criminal Minds, those two that I really like. Criminal Minds is on Netflix if you have that, and you can watch them all, binge. And I find it's interesting how they break down, especially in Criminal Minds, all the different psychological things. And I watch these shows and then I think, like for example, I used to like leave the house. I know some of you live in the country, probably don't lock your doors at all. But I would like go in the backyard and I wouldn't lock the door or anything like that. And then, or maybe even go to work. And I've seen on some of these, the criminals will come right into your house. They watch you when the door isn't locked and they sneak in there and they stay in your house. So ever since then, I have been paranoid and I will lock the door when I go in the backyard. My wife now does it because I'm like, did you see on Criminal Minds where they go in the backyard, they're in the house the whole day. So I am paranoid about it. Thankfully, I don't live in the country because I don't know what I would do because there'd be a conflict for sure. At this point in the meeting, I think it's time for table topics. And our table topics is our volunteer, Marty Johnston. Come on down.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. I was watching an interesting crime drama last night. Some of you may have seen Chicago PD. Anyone see that last night? Fairly interesting. I have a few questions. I'm going to start with Jason. What crime drama do you watch? Is there a certain character that you can relate to more than others? And could you tell us about that, Jason? And remember to use the word alibi, Jason.
Thank you. I watched a, I don't know if it's a crime drama. It's called Prison Break, and Prison Break is about two guys. One is the big brother. He's getting into a prison, and his little brother is trying to help him and saving him, and his big brother doesn't have the alibi, but the main character, his name is Michael, and he know his brother is innocent, and he's trying to saving his brother, and so he do something and made a crime to make sure that he get into the prison, and he made a tattoo in his body, and the tattoo is about the map of the prison, and he used this tattoo to help his brother to get out of the prison, and that's what I see about the crime drama. I don't know if it's a crime drama. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. I see Nancy Rose. Nancy, what type of crime drama scene entices you to stay put to watch what unfolds after a commercial per se? Nancy. And remember to use the word alibi.
I don't watch a lot of crime movies. I guess I have an alibi that I'm always doing something different, but I am enticed when they're right at the end, when everything is ready to unfold. But when I was growing up, I did watch Quincy. I really liked that, and I didn't miss a Friday night with Quincy. I used to watch it with my friend Jeannie, and we would sleep over at each other's houses and everything. And about 10 years ago, I ran into her and I lost touch with her for about maybe, I'd say 25 years. I just dated myself, but she ended up becoming a Quincy. And I'm trying to think of the word, doctor of autopsy. So it really fascinates me. And what fascinated me about Quincy is that they would always diagnose the body and all that. I always liked anatomy. So I think if I was to go back to the question, I would say that I guess if it was more of an autopsy situation and there was a commercial, I would definitely have to wait to see what was next and how things were going to unfold. But I would think that my favorite crime shows now, I would have to go back again to my childhood and say Nancy Drew. I guess that's when I really watched them all. It must have been my investigation years, which they say you go through certain things. So now I watch a lot of comedy, and which balances the crime out, gives you a good feeling, but it's fun. But thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Joe Budnick. Joe, what do you feel is the biggest difference in crime dramas today compared to 10 years ago? And I'll give you an example. In 2004 to 2013, there was a show CSI, just CSI itself. And in 2002 to 2009, the story Monk. What do you feel is the biggest difference in crime dramas today compared to, say, 10 years ago? Joe, and remember to use the word alibi. Thank you, Joe.
Nowadays, there's a lot of fascinating documentaries on crime dramas. Those are the ones that I watch as far as that goes. Watching the documentaries like on serial killers about John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer. It's amazing when these people are caught, they don't have any alibis. They just spill the beans about all the horrible things they did. And I think nowadays the crime dramas are a lot more realistic as far as DNA goes. Compared to the 70s, a lot of it was just mostly hype, the crime dramas. It was more character driven, that sort of thing, like the Rockford Files, Beretta. When I was going through elementary school, I love to watch Charlie's Angels. I have no alibi. I did not watch that show for its plot or storyline. I was only 9 anyways, but I don't think any guy who watched that show for, you know, plot or storyline. They watched it for the ladies. Yes, I didn't have the Farrah Fawcett poster, but I had the pillow with her likeness on it. She kept me warm at night, I have to say, yes. And like Jacqueline Smith, Kate Jackson, I think those two are wonderful actresses. They are still beautiful today. I watched a lot of the films and movies that those two are in. I think that they are fantastic actresses, but I am, like I said, I am fascinated by the documentaries nowadays, the crime drama, like Very Scary People is a really fascinating show. It talks about the forensics that they use, the DNA testing that they use. And I think we've really come a long way as far as technology goes to solving crimes, which gives me a lot of comfort because, you know, these criminals don't get away with it that often. So I think nowadays there's a lot of documentary, there's a lot of more realism and more realistic as far as crime dramas go than there was years ago, which I think is really interesting. Thank you.
Are you coming up? Are you coming up?
At this point, I'd like to call up the Toastmaster of the day, And we'll have a timers report.
Thank you, Marty, for stepping up. As Marty said, we'll get a timers report. So Mark, timing, how did our contestants do?
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, I am happy to report that all 3 contestants qualified. Jason at 132, Nancy at 152, and Joe using the buffer at 208. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. I'd be remiss if I did not also get a word masters report. Len, how did our participants do in regards to the word of the day?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I too am pleased to report that all 3 contestants qualified by using the word of the day, Jason, Nancy, and Joe. And you neglected on your program, Mr. Toastmaster, to show Dexter, the greatest crime drama of the modern era. Mr. Toastmaster.
I am also a Dexter fan. I have seen every episode of that. They do have a new series. I don't know if Len's seen that or not, if that's any good or not. He's come back from Alaska, so I have to see if that's any good. One of the things that I find, and take a second to vote online and also in person, so make sure you fill out your ballots. If you haven't got a ballot, there's one over there. You can do that, and Sylvia will go around and grab the votes. One of the things whenever I'm on vacation that I find is what I would call old reliable is Forensic Files. Forensic Files is on all the time. You can't find anything else to watch. We end up watching that for some reason, and because it's a crime drama. So that goes into the CSI realm for sure, where they break down everything, the DNA, and they find these little tiny clues that they thought they got away with it. It's amazing how many branches of these shows they have. So there was the CSI, the original, then there was, which I thought was in Las Vegas. I like the character interactions in some of these. CSI, the one on Grissom, I like the original, because I think he's really like the professor kind of guy, real smart. And then they have all these other characters that interact throughout these shows. So these shows not only talk about crime, but they also interact well with each other, and they're kind of funny. So there's humor mixed in, which I really like. And as Joe alluded to, often there is an attractive individual or two, male or female, which also brings in the viewers. So that definitely happens. So the Dateline is another one. It's kind of like that too. It's an old reliable on vacation. You know, when there's nothing on TV to watch, you can watch that. So we end up doing that on a regular basis. So it is pretty amusing that we, in my mind, that we find that. It's time for the speaker portion of the meeting. Your evaluator number 1 is online, Kate Banks, and we'll be evaluating Tom Heldwine. Kate, what is his evaluation parameters today?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. I love your topic today. This is a lot of fun. I think my favorite's probably Bones, which is the title character. Her nickname is Bones, and she's rather like a Sherlock Holmes character in her attention to detail around bones that are found, even sometimes centuries old, and solving mystery murders. Thank you. Let's move to the speaking portion, like you said. Thomas is on the path, innovative planning. Mr. Timer, 5 to 7 minutes. The project is the level 1 evaluation and feedback number 1. So I'll be evaluating him this time and then again a second time. And do you have the introduction portion, or would you like me to read that, Mr.
I would
Toastmaster?
love for you to read that.
All right. The speech introduction. Oh, I'm losing it here. The speech introduction is the VA Buffalo Hospital, where Thomas works, will need to shut down most operations in July 2024. A full briefing covering a year of planning and a year of preparation work is needed. Today's speech is an evaluation feedback speech for a second presentation for improvement. I'm sorry, second. Planned to be given to the VA Medical Center staff in late September 2022. So Thomas would appreciate feedback from our audience. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Kate. Please give Tom a warm round of applause. And his title is The Big Shutdown. The Big Shutdown.
Preparation. Good morning. I'm addressing the VA administrative staff, department heads, and anyone who is going to be allowed to come into the open meeting portion. July 2024, that's 2 years from now. It's a Thursday. Why is that important? Well, the VA hospital operates 24/7. The emergency room is always open. 6 days a week, we do dialysis. 5 days a week, every department is open and has appointments. We have over 12 outpatient clinics or community-based outpatient clinics, CBOCs as you may know them, out in the community. All of these use instruments. All these instruments are cleaned in our SPS. Our SPS has gotten the funding to buy 2 new washers, 2 new sterilizers, 2 new sonics, 4 brand new Medivator cleaners, Medivator storage cabinets, and what was most important, an HVAC unit. All this planning started back originally in 2018 with just the replacement of a few pieces of equipment. When we contracted out for a design firm, they noticed we didn't have enough HVAC to meet design guidelines. So in 2019, we went ahead and cleaned all the ductwork in SPS and did a 6-day shutdown. And as some of you who have been here remember, that was quite a bit of work to divert not only procedures, but also all the scheduling and have no patients seen that would require any type of instruments to be cleaned. And that was over a 3-day weekend and 3 active days of the hospital. What I'm proposing is we're going to have a shutdown starting 4th of July, 2024, and it's going to basically run the entire month of July and into August. What does that mean to us today? Today, we need to not schedule any appointments for that time frame. We need to condense people before and after. During that time frame, we will have disposable instruments in a lot of the CBOCs, in dentistry, for emergency procedures. Operations, the operating rooms, which are located, as you may know, on the 2nd floor. The OR, we're going to have to do some plumbing. So we'll draw a little bit of plumbing here so you understand. That will probably be down the week of 4th of July only. Before we get started in 2024, there's going to be work up on the 8th floor, repairing some duct work, and we're going to be way down in the sub-basement, replacing what they call a pressure reducing valve. We currently have one down there, a PRV, pressure reducing valve. That basically takes the high pressure steam, lowers it down so that it can be used in the cleaning up in SPS. The line going up to SPS also has some deterioration, so we need to put in 2 new PRV stations because that's the lowest point in the entire system and needs constant cleaning because everything ends up there. So we'll have 2 in parallel so that we can shut one down while the other one runs to be able to clean out our entire steam system and run new piping up to the 3rd floor. On the 3rd floor, there are 2 bathrooms. We're going to go ahead and demo those. That's claw hammer. We're going to do some demo there, and we're going to do some pre-work Not only there, but on the 4th floor, we're gonna put in a new HVAC unit to clean the air and supply the air to the clean side of SPS. The existing ductwork is not sized properly to allow one HVAC unit to do all the work. So half will be done before we do anything else. All that'll be done. 4th of July weekend, well, this is already done. This is already done. The OR work will take 1 week, as I said. The HVAC unit will already be installed. We'll cut a hole through the decking from the 4th floor to the 3rd floor and connect up to the existing ductwork for the HVAC unit. We'll be putting in a new HVAC unit. Where the existing one is, we have one that is modular. It comes pre-assembled in 4 different sections that will fit in the elevator, come up through the hospital elevators and be able to be installed when the other one is demoed. And as I said, we have 2 sterilizers, 2 cleaners, 2 sonics, and the Medivator cabinets and Medivator cleaners to demo out at that time and then install. One of the key things that we're going to be doing is the existing wall between the clean side and the dirty side of the hospital, where you have the one side where the instruments come in, they're dirty. And they get put into a sterilizer, which is the steam, or a washer, which has a steam cycle as well. They pass through these machines and come out on the clean side. Well, that wall needs to be demoed. When that wall is demoed, we're gonna do like Mission Impossible or Ocean's 11. Remember when they made the fake bank? We're gonna make a fake SPS area and build those walls so that it's already all prefabricated. Now, I know it's 2 years away. We have a year of planning. A lot of details have not been put out and completely figured out, but that is the current basis of design and where we're moving forward from here. At this time, I would go into question mode and ask if there's any questions. If not, thank you for listening.
So it's one of the nice things about Toastmasters is you can practice your speeches for work. So Tom got to do that today, and hopefully we can give him some feedback, possibly in the form of our ballots, and write some words of encouragement for Tom. He said it's going to be for about 50 people, just as he was walking away. So that can be a little stressful if you're public speaking. So one of the things we help with here. Jackie is our second evaluator, and it looks like she is ready to do her introduction. Just watch your step there.
Morning, everyone. Jill is working on the persuasive influence path, which sounds quite interesting to me. And this morning she's going to connect with storytelling. She has been someone who has loved horses her whole life. And at the age of 11, she was able to realize that dream and has words of wisdom for us about horses this morning. And Gerald is going to introduce her speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. The title of Jill's speech today is Life on a Pig Farm. Life on a Pig Farm.
Mr. Toastmaster, do we have time for the speech?
Yes, if Jackie did not say it, 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. No, wrong story. Okay. Back when I was a very small child, I was horse crazy. At that time, we lived in the village of Wilson, So mentally, I knew there was no chance of getting a horse. When I was 8 years old, we moved out onto a farm. The primary purpose of this farm was so that Dad could have all his construction equipment there. But there was several outbuildings. One was the old chicken coop, which I thought was perfect for a horse barn. There were actually some old stalls in the barn too, but the barn was getting used for more and more industrial type of purposes. So my horse dream kept being on hold. I kept wishing that every Christmas I would get a horse. Didn't work. At one point, I brought home a couple rabbits from school as a means of proving that I could take care of animals myself. But in the meantime, we had some family friends who, ironically, their oldest son was born the same day I was. I don't know at what point Mom and Dad became friends, but she was in the hospital with Mom, basically. So we slowly, they had a larger farm, and it turns out they had a pony/horse. And when I was 11, he was 11. And he actually had a medical emergency that spring. And I don't know exactly what kind of discussion went on between the parents, but apparently they decided that I was ready to go start working with this critter. Brandy was, as I said, a pony. Ponies are considered based on height. Anything above what they call 14 two hands is a horse, which a hand is 4 inches. Brandy was 13.2, but he was built like a tank. And he acted like it. He bullied me for the first year that I played with him. In order to get there to their farm, I had to cycle my bike for 2 miles down the road to get to where the farm was. By this time, the farm was turning into a pig farm. They had cows for beef, which included the cows, a bull or two, and all the calves. Well, Steve is looking at me, maybe they didn't have a bull. No, they didn't have a bull. No bull there. But they were starting to get pigs. And at one point, they had several hundred pigs. I do not know how many. I don't know if they ever kept count. Because a sow, when she has babies, has maybe as many as 13, 14 piglets. When I went down there to the farm, I would go down for a couple hours in the morning, most of the time. And I'd get off the horse and tie him up and let him rest. Not that he was doing enough to be rested. But I would go out to the barn and see the pigs. And sometimes the vet was there, and I got to experience watching the vet castrate the little piglets. And somebody would be holding them, and the vet would cut them, take away their little parts. But the first day I was there, Junior Johnson, who was the property owner, introduced me to Steve and said, he works for me here. If you need anything, let him know. I don't think Steve knew an awful lot about Brandy either, but I don't know if I relied on him for very much help at the time, but he was quite a bit older than me. So, I mean, I was a horse crazy little girl. But I got to play with the horse
down there for about 3 years before we decided to move him down to our property. We put up a fence for him, built a stall for him in the one barn, not the one that I ever looked at, the one that had been completely ignored by me. And eventually, I actually took him to the county fair 3 times. The last time he freaked out. I could have sold him on the spot to the pony pullers who were there that night because he was strong. And it took about 7 big men to push him in a horse trailer to get him home that night. After that, he kind of lived a life of comfort at the house. When I went to college, I wrecked my knee, which kind of made riding difficult. It was very uncomfortable. So Brandy got to be just a pasture pet. And Mom loved watching him. But I will always remember my time on the pig farm. It's not something anybody else here except for Steve can really talk about, I'm sure. And watching the vet castrate little piggies. That was the new thing. It was done quite quickly. So, if anybody else does have a chance to experience life on a pig farm though, just prepare, your nose will be made to be rough. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Our third and final speaker today is Phil Russell, but Phil Russell's evaluator is Les Robinson. Les, would you like to introduce Phil? He is online. I saw him, I swear I did. Is Les still online? There he is. Unmute yourself there, Les. There you go. So go ahead and introduce Phil if you would. Thank you.
Can you hear me, Paul?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Today, I have the privilege and honor to evaluate Phil Russell. His title is James Parker Wins It All. It's speech 3. His prepared speech for many Toastmasters manuals. Okay. Time is about 5 to 7 minutes. And basically, Phil will have a good alibi in this speech. So basically, the speech is about a track coach from 50 years ago. And I'd be happy to introduce Phil Russell. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. Please welcome Phil with a warm round of applause.
The triple jump is a very hard event. It's the second hardest event in track and field. The hardest event is the pole vault. You take this long instrument, run down a runway as fast as you can, plant that pole in a little box about this big, and then you go like this with the bar, try to go up over anywhere nowadays from 8 feet to 20 feet and land in a pit without killing yourself, okay? Triple jump, second hardest. What is a triple jump? Triple jump is where you run down this runway very fast and you take off on 1 foot and you hop. That goes from 1 foot to the same foot. That's the hop. Then there's a jump. You take that foot, you go in the air and you land on the other foot. Then you take off from that one and land on 2 feet. That's the jump. So it's a hop, step, jump. James Parker and I went to the NCAA's Division III, Naperville, Illinois, and James won the whole thing. That's not the story. How we got there is the story. Most of you know that I coached football for over 20 years. What you don't know is I also coached track and field. I started at DeSales as an assistant for a couple of years. Then I moved on to South Point in Arizona for 2 years as the head coach, and then 1 year at Buffalo State College. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, any guests? It was fun. It was really fun. However, it was a little bit of drama in this whole thing. They asked me to take over a track coaching job at Buffalo State. I was there to clean it up. It was a mess. A lot of violations going on, horrible stuff. So probably within the first week, I sent half of the team packing back to New York City. Why they were there? To run track. Sprinters, quarter milers. They were recruited from New York City. They could run. They were good, really good. But they were not students. In Division III, you have to be a student and a student athlete. That means you must go to class. You can't spend time in the locker room stealing stuff. You can't go into other people's dorm rooms, steal stuff. You're not supposed to do that stuff. So I sent half the team packing with the first week. Then we start working out. Something they knew how to do, but they had no discipline. They were good, boy, could they run. But here's James. I have a good nucleus. Here's James. Local guy, can really run. He can run with the best of them. He also worked very, very hard. The rest of them, hey, I'm good. I just run. Now, they were trying to win a national championship, at least in one event or anything, for years. That's why these people were there, but they never could do it. Just couldn't do it. They go to the nationals. Okay. So how did we, Jim and I watched Jim, we went through some turmoil, things like that. But Jim would work. Every time I talked to him, he'd work. So he qualifies, he wins the states, and he qualifies for the nationals. So we go down. Wednesday is qualifiers. To have qualifiers for half the events on one day, qualifiers for the other half the second day. Then finals and finals. You get the gist. All right, now, Jim goes down, qualifies, not a problem. He's getting into the finals. We went out to a clinic the night before. It was a lot of fun. I, being the coach, was allowed to have a couple of adult beverages. Jim, on the other hand, being my athlete, no. I needed to relax. It's crazy. We got my job was primarily get him to the track on time, and I did. We got to the track on time. So I have to stay in the stands because I'm a coach. No coaches on the field. Jim goes down to the field. First attempt, fouled. I hear behind me one of the coaches say, "Welcome to the NCAA finals." Boy, I was burning. I was mad. Jim comes up to me, he says, "Coach, what happened?" I says, "Look, Jim, you got 6 chances, right? First one you fouled. Get your steps down, relax. Remember, I got relaxed last night? You relax. Just go get the first one in. Everything else will fall into place. You got then 4 more tries to hit the big one." Okay, coach. Jim goes down. He hits it. He's in. He also happened to be in first place at that time. So he comes back up. Hey, that was okay. I said, yeah, just relax now, go for the big one. Try to win it all. So he goes down, he kept jumping. After every jump, he comes up and said, coach, one of these other guys gonna hit 14. That's just the meters. Just keep trying, just keep trying. You're still at first, so just relax, just relax. Goes down, he relaxes. Does it again. Still frustrated. Still can't get past that, but he's still in first place. Now they've been trying to win an NCAA championship. Jim won. Jim won. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. And again, don't forget to give comments for our speakers today. And Sylvia will come around when she gathers the ballots. So also vote for our speakers today. Once we determine if they reach their time parameters. Mark Campos, do you have a report for us?
I do, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. All three speakers qualified. I must say the buffer was their friend today. Thomas came in at 6:42. Jill needed a little help from the buffer at 7:12, and Phil as well needed help from the buffer at 7:13. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. The buffer is our friend for sure. Other crime dramas that you may have forgot about. Do you remember Columbo? That was a while ago, right?
Yeah, I do remember. I think I remember.
Dave definitely remembers. He's quoting Columbo at this point. He's funny, he just bumble around, and then all of a sudden, wow, he's really brilliant, and no one knew it. And he solves the crime. So he's got that little funny twist with him, which I really like from some of these shows. Character interaction, a big thing. NCIS, that is all over the place. How many branches of that are out on TV? And some of the character interactions there are very good as well. Mark Harmon's been on it so long, I think he's burnt. He's done. I feel like he's disappeared for a while. I read something on the news that he's just disappeared for a while and they have to come back for taping. He's kind of wore him out. So I don't know if he'll come back, but in the end, they do have other NCISs to help with that. But usually the original, though, I feel has got the best character interactions. I remember there's that goth chick on there. I don't know her name. Someone else might, but it's funny that they interact with her all the time, and she'd have funny things to say and mess with people. So I had good times with that. So character interaction, big deal. I would like to start with our evaluators today. Kate, are you ready to do your evaluation?
I am ready, Mr. Toastmaster.
There you go. Turn over to you.
Thank you very much, Thomas and fellow Toastmasters this morning. I'm glad that you gave an introduction, and we did talk about this after last week's meeting. So Thomas has been working on this for a while, at least since before last week's meeting. And clearly through his career here, this has been developing and evolving. I love that you gave me an introduction so that we could set the groundwork and lay the scene, and you didn't have to eat into your speaking time. You did a little at the beginning, you kind of clarified a bit more, but I think it was good because you did reiterate to your audience who they were. I thought you did several things very well. You were professional in your tone. Your eye contact was solid. At first, it was a bit unnerving, I will say, because I felt like I was being stared at through Zoom land. But that means that you were making contact with the camera. And then you did eventually continue to include the room as well. Your pacing was phenomenal. Your pausing and your pacing. Your organization and explanation, again, was very professional. It was relatable to your audience. There were times when you slipped into a bit more of a conversational tone, but it was a very serious and good explanation, a solid explanation of what's to come down the road for your organization. I think that two main things I would work on in this speech. At the beginning, you occasionally would slip the hand, not holding the microphone, into your pocket and then out and then back in. Keep it out of your pocket. Avoid your pockets altogether. A trick then that you did that you never did it again was then you had a marker in your hand. Once you had the marker in your hand, fortunately, you didn't just slip that into your pocket. That would have been messy. So I don't know if holding your something in your hand to get to that point so you don't put your hands in your pockets might help you. The second thing would be the visual aids with that marker. On Zoom, I couldn't see much, if any, of your visual aids. I'm not sure if your real presentation will be in this hybrid format. I'll let the fellow Toastmasters in the room, will you please all give him feedback about the visuals effectiveness, because it was hard to see. And I am not sure if it added or detracted to your overall message. To challenge yourself, I always say, watch the recording. So watch the recording of this meeting, most definitely, so you can continue to hone and practice. And I look forward to your next speech very much. Thank you, Mr. President. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. Incoming President.
Thank you.
I have no alibi for not using the word of the day, Mr. Wordmaster.
Jackie is present. She does not have alibi as well. She's here. So she's our second evaluator. Bring her up here with a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone, and especially Jill. Life on the pig farm. I liked it. I liked it. You told us about something that you experienced that mattered to you. You shared memories with us and you gave us an organized speech. Always a good thing. You had me worried. There's no alibi for not making your time frame, but you got in there just in time. One suggestion I would have is to think ahead of time of the way that you want to present your speech. If you're going to want the lectern moved, ask somebody before the meeting to help you. They'll jump up and move things around and get you situated. It just makes it a little more smooth. Release that awkward moment when you're kind of shoving things, and it helps. I'd like to see you bring your story to some kind of a stronger conclusion. You gave us your love of animals. Maybe say something about what they add to our lives. Maybe say something about the necessity on a farm of sometimes doing things that seem very cruel, like castrating the piglets, but it's a necessity. What does that mean to us? What do we understand about farming because of that? You could wrap things up that way. Or maybe what you learned about yourself, your resilience pedaling to that farm. I could pedal 2 miles to get to ride a horse, absolutely. And doing some of the dirty work of taking care of a horse. It's worth it because you then get to go for that wonderful, relaxing ride on your horse. So all in all, an excellent job this morning. You have grown so much as a storyteller. We have seen parts of your life come forward and be shared with us. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. And our third evaluator is online, Les Robinson. If you could provide your evaluation.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Technology once in a while just gets messed up with me with Zoom. So today, today I'd like to say thank you because I have known Phil Russell for many years. I have evaluated him before and I enjoy evaluating Phil. I've had him on my TV show. And the great thing about evaluating Phil is that I always learn something new. And that's the great thing about evaluating Phil. He always sets the table. He shows a visualization that he talks about with the track and all the years and all the traveling around is what you can see it. It starts to visualize in the back of your head. So you feel like you're in the speech. Okay. That's very hard for a lot of people to do, but the way Phil sets it up, you can visualize it, you can hear it, you can almost feel like you're there with Phil. And that's what I love about Phil's speeches. He had a great opening. Basically how he set the table once again, how he used his vocal variety, how he used the packing. And that's what I thought was neat because when he was talking about when he went to UB or Buff State, is that people could run. How they were stealing in the dorms, they were stealing in the locker room. And after the first week, he sent them packing. I could visualize Phil telling these people in the locker room, goodbye, you need to go. And I could see him doing it, probably because I've known Phil. But that's what made it so interesting is you could be part of the speech, his gestures and all of that. The only problem I had with Phil's speech is somewhere along the speech, I lost Phil on the screen and all I could see was a hand. But I could keep hearing him and that was made up for not seeing him. So that was probably a technology problem. But once again, because Phil is such a great speaker, the visualization, I didn't see his facial expressions, but I could hear and once again feel. So the bad thing that happened in his speech was that I didn't see Phil. But the good thing is that Phil is such a great speaker and the way he animates himself and the way he presents himself and he goes step by step, I could still visualize it. And that's what I love about Phil's speeches is that even when everything went bad technology for me to see Phil's face and his visualization, the way he presents a speech is you could still feel it. And he had a great story. He did his pauses, but overall, once again, the speech was good. You could feel it. But the only problem I could give you with Phil's speech was that the technology didn't let me see Phil. But overall, Phil did a great job. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Les. Mr. Timer, could I get a report, please?
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, all three evaluators were on the money this morning. Kate at 2:49, Jackie at 2:30, and Les at 2:52. We have had a meeting free of any timing violations. Mr. Toastmaster.
That's awesome. Good job, all. Take a moment to vote for your favorite evaluator, and it will be online as well. Movies. There are movies that are crime dramas. Has anybody seen The Usual Suspects? It's a bit older now. There's a few nods in the audience. Yes. Boy, is there a twist. Kaiser Sose. Those that have seen it are nodding. Yes. The big mystery of Kaiser Sose. Definitely worth watching. Silence of the Lambs. That has spawned a couple prequels, series afterwards. Who could forget Hannibal Lecter having a friend over for dinner with the liver inside of fava beans? That is definitely something that's there. And one of the other movies that I like as well is Taken. That's Liam Neeson. He's the star of that. And his daughter gets kidnapped and he's got these skills, a particular set of skills gathered over a long period of time that make things very difficult for people that kidnap others. That's almost the exact quote. I've said that many times because I joke that I'm a secret agent with my kids and tell them that I have this particular set of skills that I will bust out as needed to handle situations. And I don't really have those skills, but they need to think I do. That's really what matters. And he has had a number of movies that are very similar to that movie Taken. He's had that's had 3 movies called Taken Again, they should call it. And at all these other movies, Ice Road Trucker, different things that he's just out there and busting people up, much like he did with the movie Taken. So it's amazing how much money he has made over the course of his life for the same role in various movies. I think it's time to start some reporting of the activities in our meeting. Did anybody come up with a jest, by the way? No jokes today, no funny people? Okay, that's okay. Dave usually has one, but not today. That's okay, so we'll forget about the jest today. Let's start with a report from our quiz master, Carol Ann. Come on up.
See how well you were listening. What was Nancy's favorite show?
Quincy.
And what change did Gerald make when he moved from the country to the city? And what reason did Joe watch Charlie's Angels?
The ladies.
And what show did he mention liking to watch, a documentary type? That was very scary people. And what does Gerald watch on vacation when it's hard to find anything on TV? And another one, Forensic Files. And what show that's an older one does Kate like? It was Bones. And when is the VA scheduled to shut down?
July 20th. 24.
And what are they, what is the main thing they're changing in the OR?
HVAC.
It's the plumbing is what I picked up. I don't know. And how old was Jill when she moved to a farm? I wrote 8. Yeah, 8. And what determines a horse from a pony?
Right.
And what was the pony's name?
Brandy.
And what college did Phil straighten up their track and field?
Buff State.
And I know sometimes I like to watch those documentaries of the very scary people. And what amazes me with them is the total lack of remorse these people have for these terrible crimes. Mr. Toastmaster.
Let's welcome our grammarian, Steve Smith, down for his report. Getting down here, light jog. All right.
Thank you. Kind of caught me by surprise there. Either we are doing extremely well or I did my job extremely poorly because I didn't find much today. One thing caught my ear when Les Robinson was talking about Phil's ability to set the scene, to describe what he was talking about. He referred to it as how he set the table. Now, I like that. And then Jill started her speech out with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That caught my attention. Other than that, I think we did pretty well today. However, I have a few things to say. How is it with all this talk about the crime dramas that we forgot all about the Law and Order franchise?
Oh.
What? I like that show. Come on. Now, we were talking about locking your house when you leave. I have a thought to leave you with that my father always told me. Locks only keep out honest people. Mr. Toastmaster.
Very true. Very true. If you want to get in, they will get in, sadly. Before I do the final two reports, which will be the Owl Master and the Word Master, I do want our general evaluator to give a report.
Three. You forgot me.
And the Tech Master. Thank you, Jen. So if you could give your report, that would be great. Tech Justice Master, thank you.
Thank you. Couple of general notes for people. I think eye contact is something we still have to work in, particularly in the room. People on Zoom tend to be a little bit better at it. One other thing in the room, I think most people are doing this, but just a note, when the mic is positioned here, we can't see your full face. So make sure you are adjusting the mic when you're in the room. In general on Zoom, a couple of notes for Zoom folks. One is make sure that if you are getting up, moving around, doing something distracting, you turn off your camera so it doesn't distract other people. And make sure if you're speaking in your room at home that you muted your mic before you do that when the meeting is still going on, so that you're only talking when you're meant to be speaking. A couple of notes on our tech and gestures today. Len and Thomas in the room had really good eye contact, and so did Jason. So those are people I noticed with great eye contact today. Nancy Rose, I noticed that sometimes when you had good eye contact and then you would look up and it was a bit strange for Zoom. Joe, in the room, I noticed that you were holding onto the lectern, but when you let go of the lectern, you had really great hand gestures. Thomas, I think Kate stole my thunder. She took basically all of my notes on tech and gestures. I noticed the hand in the pocket, the great eye contact, and the visual was a little bit strange from the Zoom world. I wasn't sure if it was very effective here. Maybe, again, ask people in the room, as she mentioned. Jill, I noticed that you had a strange angle that you were standing at, and I wasn't sure if it was intentional or not, but it made it seem like you were uncomfortable when you were watching on video. So just a note for that. And Phil, for you, using the head mic was good because it made you able to gesture more freely. However, the volume wasn't as clear on Zoom. So those were my notes. Oh, and Les, make sure you're making eye contact when you're on Zoom. Sometimes you look away and that can be a bit distracting. Those are all of my notes for tech and gestures. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And now Mike Florio, our general evaluator report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Great job this morning, Dr. Gerald Stevens. Crime shows, I thought the theme was excellent. It was right on time, the meeting. You guarded the lectern all the way through. It was a very interesting theme. I think the first thing I thought of when you talk about crime shows is that not necessarily crime shows. My wife right now is on grand jury. And if any of you know anything about grand jury, it's not like your typical jury. It's all felonies, and you want to talk about the real deal. I've sat on grand jury before as well, when you actually realize that there is crime around you, and sometimes it's pretty rugged. It's the real thing definitely trumps what's going on in the crime shows. You could watch crime shows all day, and when you see that it's right in your backyard, you definitely want to lock your door and get a shotgun or whatever. But it's anyway, that's what came to mind. Still a great job. And I'll move on to the evaluators. I think the evaluators also, all very seasoned evaluators. They all did the sandwich approach. Kate, I thought, did a great job bringing up the tone of Tom's excellent speech, great eye contact, great pace, just like she said. I think maybe if I were to add anything to that, I would say, how was the first shutdown? I think Tom touched on it, but I'm wondering, first thing I wondered, well, did it go well? And do we want to duplicate it? Or was it really a disaster and we want to avoid this, this, and this? So maybe that might be something that Tom, you might want to add into the speech to kind of help it. But all in all, I thought it was great. I think the visual, I did have a tough time seeing online what it was, but still, Kate, I thought did a great job. Jackie did a great job with Jill. I think, the pig farm thing, oh boy, the castration, I don't know. I was squirming in my seat a little bit thinking about that one. And very organized. I thought Jill might go over on time, but she didn't. She held it together. I really would have liked to have seen a photo of the pony. Maybe not the pig farm so much, but definitely the pony. I've got a lot of notes here. She did bring up the fact that Jill is a great storyteller. I think she's so casual that she's, leaning on the lectern like this, and just kind of felt like I was in her living room talking to her, and she was just letting me know a story. She's a great storyteller, and Jackie will hit the nail right on the head. Let's see. Less on Phil. Well, what can you say? I mean, Phil is also an awesome storyteller, and I think Les's point that Phil brings you in, you visualize it, you're almost there. I could see somebody trying to pole vault, right? I could see somebody doing the hop, skip, and jump, because Phil paints that picture for us. And again, for me, there's things I would have liked to have seen, and that is maybe the trophy. They've never got one before from NCAA trophy, or maybe even a photo of him with James Parker. That would have been kind of perfect, where, here he is, he brought this athlete up to the highest level, really, in the college level. And that's something worth noting. So all in all, I thought all of our evaluators did an excellent job. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike. I will call for our two final roll holders. We may have time for someone else who hasn't spoken yet as well to talk about crime dramas. So I'll put that out there for a few people who haven't been called on yet. Beth, if you could give your master report.
I always forget how much taller than whoa. Right, we had all in all a pretty good meeting. Jason, you are new to this, so you had quite a few ums and ahs, but that's why you joined, so that you can learn to decrease that amount. Nancy had a few. I didn't hear any from Thomas or Phil Russell. Jill, there was one little you got in there, but most of it was very good. Les had a few, Carol Ann had a few, Mike Florio had a few. But I would say all in all, a pretty good meeting. As far as crime shows, crime scenes, I have no alibi for this. My favorite has always been NCIS. I actually used NCIS in my classroom. I don't know, for those of you who watched it, the main character, Gibbs, who's Mark Harmon, he would slap Mike Weatherly upside the head when he did something particularly like duh, or wake up, smell the roses, something like that. He'd just slap him upside the head. So every student class, there's different personalities. Some are better than others. Some of them got my kind of strange sense of humor. Some didn't. I started just saying when they had their duh moments, NCIS. And they got it. I never went around and slapped them upside the head. I just said NCIS, and everybody got it. So I used that crime show in a different way. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you for sharing, Beth. For my kids, I would tap them on the head. They love that. They still talk about that till this day, even though they're in their 20s. You know what Dad used to do? Think, that's what that meant. Our word master, Len, come on down. And how did our word do today?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. The word fared pretty well today. Those who didn't use it better have a good alibi. I heard Gerald use it twice. I heard it from Tracy, Mark Campus, Mike Florio, all three of the table topics contestants, Jason, Nancy, and Rose. I heard Les use it once. Beth and Kate snuck it in. I didn't want to count that because you were technically done speaking. Not real good. Okay, so you missed a couple more great crime shows that at least stream. I'm not sure if they were on the traditional networks. One called Leverage. Any fans out there?
Yes.
Leverage, and it's been rebooted. It's also online again. And Burn Notice. Anybody seen that?
All of them, yes.
I really enjoyed that. I took an opportunity to bring up a couple jokes because we don't have a jester today. Is it a crime to throw sodium chloride into the enemy's eyes? Yes, it's assault.
Oh.
I know it's assault, but is it a crime? Let's see here. Why does government hate organized crime?
No, I don't know that.
They don't like competition. Phil got it, yes. Let's see here. Gotta finish on a good one. Why are crimes so hard to solve in Alabama?
Out the woods.
Because there are no dental records and all the DNA matches. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Len, for coming to our rescue with the jest. That was excellent. Do we have someone who wants to come up and just, Dave has a burning need to tell us his favorite crime drama. Dave will share a few minutes of his time here and years of wisdom, I'm sure.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and I wish we had some guests. Dr. Jerry, Dr. Jerry, Dr. Jerry, never mentioned Dragnet. Are you kidding me? Now, Phil and I, and perhaps Jackie remember Dragnet, but that's no excuse. That was one of the original shows. So I just wanted to get that off my chest, and I feel much better now. Thank you. But I do have one question. Why do Italians dislike Jehovah's Witnesses? We don't like any witnesses.
That was great. It kind of leans in my old theme of a different meeting of the mafia, but that's okay. I love that too. So let's talk about who won today. Our best table topics. Joe Budnack, come on down. Thank you.
Major Crimes, that's a good show.
Major Crimes, also excellent. Watch that. And our best evaluator online, Kate Orr. our best speaker, Tom Heldwine. Come on down. Get your- That's right. Fickle finger of fate is on.
Ooh, 399.
399.
Margot.
Margot's the winner. Yay. I don't know who has the money, but please give half the turn. Yeah, I'll turn the lectern over to our current president. Okay.
Thank you very much. We're doing on time. Okay. Law and Order, 2 shows that one new, one old. For Law, Quantico is a great series. It's streaming right now. Great first season. Okay, second season. Third season, I have a lot of problems with. The main characters have been on TV with the President of the United States, but they all can go undercover still. Every single episode, I'm like, no, they were on the TV as the crime busters of the United States with the President of the United States. How in the world do you go? And the one woman saved New York City, and then she saved the Congress. Then she did. How in the world is she going undercover? It's totally crazy. I don't understand it. The writers must have serious issues. The second one that I think is a sad thing that got taken off the air with the defund the cops was Cops itself, the show Cops. That was a great show to watch what law enforcement has to deal with on a day-to-day basis with all the people normally under the influence. I definitely think that of all the TV dramas, I could definitely watch that one for hours. We would have it on in the background all the time for hours and watch that for quite a while. I have to ask if there's any announcements. Who's next week? Yes, I don't even know.
The Toastmaster next week is David Jones. Speakers, we have Dave Licata, Joe Budnick, and Sylvia Baptiste. The agenda is on our club website. The full third quarter schedule will be up in about another day. I'm waiting to hear back from a couple people. I don't want to leave them off the schedule, and I don't want to give them no jobs, but I want to make sure that they're going to be here to participate because I don't like changes, Mr. President.
No change. All right.
I do have an announcement too. This is Kate on Zoom. 2 more I love that I forgot earlier about. 2 more. Gosh, Gerald, this has been a fun topic. I love Blue Bloods, and season 13 of Blue Bloods is coming out soon. That's a long running show. And on BBC, Broadchurch is pretty good. So check out Broadchurch if you have not. But for the announcement, it is again about July 16th. It's just over 2 weeks away now. And that is the 716 of our zip code. It's 716 day. It's a Saturday. So we're doing a kind of a social time, and it's going to be the Botanical Gardens in the morning, late morning for $7.16. It's a discount, and then meeting up at Delaware Park for Shakespeare in the Park later. It's like a bring your coolers and chairs and blankets kind of an afternoon and enjoy Shakespeare and have a picnic that you bring. But there also is a bar restaurant right there for those of you who'd rather go there. We'll have a great day. Thanks so much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you for coming.